Welcome to this BraveBot workshop online for National Science Week. We are supported by the Australian Government to run this workshop, and some of you would know that we've had to rapidly adapt to our current situation here in Canberra, where we can't run face-to-face workshops. So today we're online, so thank you for joining us. As we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land where I am today. The Ngunnawal and Namadgi people are from this region here. And I also want to acknowledge the traditional owners for around the country of where you are as well. And I really pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And I welcome anyone who's here today, other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who might be joining us today. I acknowledge you as well. So thank you for being here. And I would like to acknowledge all of you who are dialing in. I know how tricky it is at the moment. I'm here at home with a 3-year-old, and we are adapting and doing our best. And it is totally fine if you need to jump off because, you know, things happen at home. We get it. And if we have any tech difficulties as well, I apologise in advance. We're doing our best, and I want to thank Sophie and Maka, who are in the background helping out to keep everything flowing. So I've mentioned before with video, we are sharing video, but just be really mindful of what's happening in the background because, you know, we might need to kick people off if we start seeing things we don't want to see. And audio, please stay muted just so we don't distract other people in the presentation. Chat is open, so please ask questions, please respond as you're going through, and we'll try and take questions as we're going. So Sophie and Mac are in the background, so monitoring that as well. So let's kick off. I just want to introduce myself and say hello. My name is Claire, and I run a business called InnovateCommunicate here in Canberra. I work with scientists, technologists, engineers, mathematicians, lots of people that want to make positive change in this world. And one of the ways that I do encourage people to engage with STEM is through art and creative activities. And I think that art provides a really great way into STEM. And I'm really happy to be joined today by Gary Hirsch, who's on the line, who's an incredible artist that I met in 2015 he was running BraveBots in the US. And so I've had in the back of my mind, as I've been working with people in science and technology over the last few years, well, I've been working with them for a long time, but as my own business owner, only in the last few years, I got curious. So living in Canberra, you know, we have a little bit of a reputation for being, I don't know, maybe a little bit dull, a little bit zipped up sometimes. And I got curious and I thought, I wonder if I can introduce this idea of making bots in some community events. And I launched a few events last year, and actually I found that people really loved it because people were curious, I think, about art, about what they could do to make a positive change in people's lives. And lots of people love robots, which I think is fantastic. So on the screen, you should be seeing a poll, and I've been asking you to respond and say what prompted you to sign up to this workshop. So I have been seeing quite a few things coming through on the poll, so I think lots of you have already answered. Let's just leave it up there for 10 more seconds, and then Mac is going to share the results so we can have a quick look. What do we reckon? Still a few people coming in from the waiting room, but let's close the poll now and share those results, Maka. All right. So what prompted you to sign into this workshop today? A whopping 71% said robots, 31% technology, 50%, now actually this was multiple choice, right? So you could do more than one answer. 50% art and craft, 51% science, 31% engineering and maths, 11% social purpose and doing something for others, fantastic. 31% said it looked like fun and maybe something the kids might like to do. And 3% said no idea. Woo, welcome to you. Love that. Just jump on in and have a go. And 3% said other. So that's intriguing. Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing that. Now, I want to introduce Gary. Oh, before I do that, I just want to also invite you to be curious. So have this in the back of your mind as we go through the workshop today. I want to invite you to be curious. So really pay attention to what interests you as we talk and as we show you things. Think about what you want to create. So some of you might already have your pens and your paper all ready to go. And think about the people around you. So how do you want to share what you're working on with them as well? Gary, over to you. I am so pleased that you're here. So you're actually joining us from the US. Now, Gary is a visual artist and he created the BotJoy movement. He calls it a 5-year visual experiment. And he has actually created over 60,000 large and small hand-painted robots. And you can see he actually does these amazing murals as well and public works with people all around the world. So there is one in Melbourne and there's others around the USA. And the thing is, as he's launched BotJoy, he decided to share it with the world and encourage people all around the world to make bots. And so that's, I got super inspired by that. Gary is also the co-founder of a business called On Your Feet, which is a creative consultancy, and it's all about helping people working in businesses like Nike, Apple, Breville, Uber, to basically use improv and other creative ways to get them thinking about how they can better innovate, collaborate, engage with audiences, and solve problems. So that is super cool because it's just, Gary's an artist and he's also involved with all these people working in STEM. So Gary, I know you've been super busy this week. Can you tell me what you've been up to?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I just want to thank you for having me, Claire. It's really exciting. It's early evening here on the West Coast of the US. This week, as you mentioned, I'm an artist, and I took time off this week just to do a really large community event here in Oregon, which is the part of the US where I'm located. If you show that next slide, I worked on a mural this week, very similar to this one. This isn't the exact one, but these are giant robots that I like to paint. I'm pretty obsessed with robots, as you've mentioned, Claire. I'm obsessed with robots, and I'm also obsessed with how human beings interact with each other and using the robots as the vehicle for doing that. So what I'll do is I'll make a mural like this and I'll put questions up on it, and then people interact with the questions. They answer them using hashtags, for example, on social media. And I'm just a very curious person. You mentioned curiosity. I started the whole robot movement because of the BotJoy movement as a piece of art, because I was curious about what brought people joy. That was my first piece of curiosity. And the robots helped me explore that. And actually, Claire, I want to go off script for a second, if that's okay with you, very quickly. I'm curious about our audience today as well. So here's what I'd like to know. This will help me. In the chat, if you don't mind, just put one thing that brings you joy right now in your life. Let's just throw that in there, because I think that'll be useful as we continue this workshop. So whatever's bringing you joy right now, put it in. And you'll see a whole bunch of things will pop in because there's 55 people in this. So we got music and family and friends and dogs and cats. Yeah, so these are the type of things that I was curious about. And if you have a robot, you can tell your robot some of the things that bring you joy, and then your robot can tell other people about it. It can behave that way. Robots can do lots of different things. The robots that I make are very artistic, and these are big ones. And then you go to the next slide, please. I also make them really, really small, and Claire and I will be talking about this in a bit, but these are robots on small tiles, and I do thousands and thousands and thousands of these, and I make different types. I make brave bots and love bots and joy bots, and they help people. And this theme of robots helping is going to be a major theme for what we're going to talk about. And just the last thing I'll show you is what Claire alluded to in this final slide from my work, is that I like to make them, but I like to encourage other people to make them too. So in this final slide here, you'll see, move that next slide for me, thanks. This is just examples. There's thousands and thousands of people here in the US and elsewhere, obviously in Australia as well, that are making bots. And they're making bots to give to people for all sorts of different reasons. So we're gonna play with that for a bit and talk about it. So thanks for having me. I'm excited to meet you all.
Awesome. I love that somebody said in the chat that what brings them joy is chips. I don't know if it's potato chips or hot chips, but I agree with that one. So Gary, I really want to just ask a little bit more about robots for you, because they have emerged in your art over the last, you know, whatever it is, 10 years, is it? Like tell me about the story of robots. Why robots?
Yeah, well, if you go back to that very first slide you showed with that little drawing, maybe that's the way to begin that story. So you can back up 2 slides. I can explain it to you.
Yeah.
One more, actually. So on this slide, you'll see a, oh, there you go.
Sorry.
It's okay. You'll see a drawing. And I gave out this drawing to a bunch of friends and clients. And it says, go through your entire day visualizing that you have a personal, giant, invisible robot that protects you and gives you outrageous compliments. So just take a moment and think about that. What if you walked around your entire life, but you had this invisible robot, and every time you did something good, it would say, nice job, that's excellent. Or if you wore nice pants, it would say, nice pants. So I like this idea of a robot. And I thought a robot is this sort of beautiful symbol of something that can be helpful. And I started to connect the idea of robots as an object to paint, because I really enjoy their physical objects. Sometimes robots look like they're humanoids, sometimes they don't. We're going to dive into that. But what I really got excited about, Claire, to answer your question, is getting really curious about all of the different ways robots could help. Could they help you find hope? Could they help you feel brave? Could they help you feel love? I've started to connect robots with human emotion, and that's what sparked the project.
Awesome. Yeah, I you know, it's funny, as I started to work with these bots over the last year or so, I started to get more interested in robots. And so I don't know, people might be able to see in the background, I've got a couple of books up there that I started to gather, and I started to do some research into robots because, you know, I've heard about them over the last, you know, obviously we all hear about different robots and we might see stories about them. And I got really interested in the way that they can be helpful. And so I've actually got some videos and some images coming up just to give you a few ideas, and we can talk a little bit about the ways that some of these robots are helpful. So up on the screen, you should be able to see there's in your top left, there is a surgery, robots for surgery. So this is a really incredible, huge robot in many hospitals, and it actually helps surgeons to be very precise with what they're doing. And it means that instead of being limited to a surgeon having 2 hands, they now have multiple hands. So I think that's really incredible. On the bottom there, that's actually a security robot. So it goes around an art gallery and just watches to make sure that there's nothing, you know, odd happening. And somebody actually told me recently that in Canberra, in one of the Woolworths, I can't remember which one it is, there's actually a cleaning robot. So it goes around the aisles and finds if there's spills and then automatically cleans it up. So I thought that was pretty cool. And in the top right, this is a robot that goes around the waterways. This is in London, I think, and it's sucking up all the rubbish as it finds it in the water. And some of you may have heard of Megan Gilmore. She's actually an innovator and entrepreneur here in Canberra, and she started this robot movement to get robots into schools so that kids that were sick in hospital could still go to school. And she was inspired by her son, actually, who was very sick for a number of years. And these robots, she has now launched Robots for Good and Missing Schools, so 2 different charities. And recently, as a result of COVID, they've been taking these robots even further afield just to kind of enable people to connect with each other. So this is a photo of a man who is actually playing chess with his son via robot. I wanted to also point to GoTerra, which is another Canberra company. They had a tour up for National Science Week, which I think might be postponed, but do check it out if you can. They've actually invented a solution to deal with food waste. And so they have these huge containers now where they bring in the food waste and the robots help bring in insects and they look after the insects and then they break down the food waste. And this whole thing is like an automated robot system. And they're actually helping with waste, breaking down the waste as they go. It's really quite amazing. Another Canberra invention. Now, I just want to play this little video. We'll just play a bit of it. And we'll share the links afterwards so that you can go and watch the full thing if you like. I'm just going to stop that one there. But actually, Gary, you were the one that pointed this one out to me, and I've been having a look at this. But can you just share what this company is doing and what this is all about?
Yeah, so I think this is from Boston Dynamics, which makes these robots that, at least physically and the way that they move, are very reminiscent of sort of more humanoid or animal-based sort of movement. And they do base the design and the structure anatomically on sort of real organic, sort of, humanoid-like or animal-based physiology. So this is a robot that is inspired from nature, which is, I think, incredibly fascinating. And again, as I said in the beginning, I'm really interested in the idea of the collision of robot and emotion. You don't actually think of robot being emotional, but I think it's really hard to watch this video and not feel as if this robot is having a good time. It's sort of delightful. Maybe it's having fun. And again, is it really? Well, maybe, maybe not. But the way that we project our sort of own emotions onto them is another way that robots can be helpful. So I'm really interested in Boston Dynamics. They have a lot of different robots. These are just two of the many, many. So there you go. And Gail, you've got some thoughts in the chat there about them. I think you might know them better than we do. Yeah, great. Look at that. Invented a robot that could cross chasms by feeling. Right. So it actually has sensors in its feet, so it can actually move across some precarious geography as well. So yeah, so I'm really interested in this company.
Yeah. Oh, and somebody said they couldn't hear the music. Sorry about that. It was
good. It was a silent dance. Next time you do slide share, you have to turn it off and turn it back on. There's a way to hear the audio on your computer. So if you have another one, let us know.
Learning every day. I will share all of the links with everyone so that you can go and play the full videos, because some of them I might not be able to get the audio working. Yeah, thank you so much for that. So I wanted to just see, Maka, have we got some questions?
Here, we don't really have any questions, but we do have some questions that we've received beforehand, because people are so excited about this workshop. They already have some questions. So one of the questions that we have is, what are the most helpful jobs that robots could do? What do you think that would be?
Yeah, I mean, I have one quick answer to that, which is think about everything that human beings need to get done that are dangerous to human beings, right? There's somebody has to go into the nuclear power plant. Something has to happen to remove the uranium rods, right? You don't want to do that with your bare hands. So that's one way. Think about everything that would be dangerous. A robot can do it and not get hurt, which is great. How about for you, Claire?
Makes a lot of sense. And there's someone in the chat room saying, can robots build houses? That's a good question too.
Yeah, I think for me, what's emerging more and more is just that personal service. I just think, I mean, like many of us may have those Roombas at home, or one of those little robots that goes around your house and kind of cleans the floor, and cats and dogs like to ride on them as well, so they're getting some joy out of that. But I think that emergence of how can we rely on other technology just day to day to kind of help us out with small tasks, or just make us feel like we're not by ourselves anymore.
Cataly has a really good question. What if robots do something wrong? And that reminded me that here in Canberra, we have someone called Genevieve Bell. I don't know if you've heard about her, but she talks a lot about the ethics of AI and ethics about robots. And now that robots are inbuilt and they're in this sort of world, how do we deal with that? What are the ethics complexities that go behind that? So Gary, do you have any thoughts about that, or Claire?
Well, it's funny. I'm a big reader of science fiction, and years ago, before sort of more robots sort of got mainstream, there were already authors that were exploring this idea. So Isaac Asimov has, if you read any of his work, has literally rules of robot behavior. And if they violate those rules, then something happens to them. So there's people who speculate on this already. And I think it gets really interesting. I was just reading about, one of my clients actually is Uber, and they've got really sort of locked into these automated cars, which are robot-driven cars. And the question is, what happens if that car hurts someone? And it's really hard to insure those cars, because who's at fault is the question. So it brings up a lot of questions around liability, which is one of the main reasons why these things aren't taking off more, because they can't figure out the legalities of it. The technology works, but the legalities still are up in the air.
And there's more follow-up questions about that. Like, do robots have feelings? And we can go beyond that.
Yeah. Pat, thank you for listening to the TED Talk and making robots. It's awesome. Appreciate that.
Yep.
Did we have any other pre-questions, or should we move on?
We do. Yeah. We have one about, what will they do in the future? It's a question from Daniel, who's a little boy. And what do you think that robots will do? What would be the next step?
Oh, look, who knows? I think they're just going to be part of everyday life in every part of our life. I don't know.
I think they already are to some extent. We just don't know it yet, right? Like a robot doesn't have to look like a human being. It could be a chip that's inside your refrigerator that tells you that your cabbage has gone bad, right? I mean, technology and robot are sometimes fuzzy, I think. I do like to think about way in the future, like if a robot could travel to another planet and let us know about it. Like, that's the stuff I really like to think about, but it's pretty far. You asked about next step. That's many, many steps away.
Awesome. So I wanted to move on now to this question, and let's just unpack it a bit. So everybody get typing in the chat. What problems do you think robots could solve in the future?
Oh, lots of
lawn mowing, yeah. Someone said manage our toddler. That's my husband saying that. So
the dream.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm sure there's lots of parents here on the line that would love an extra pair of hands, or someone else that can do some art with their kids. Space travel. Yeah. Job automation. Yes, indeed. And I mean, we're seeing that already in a lot of the big warehouses. just getting the robots to go in and sort of climb really high and carry the really heavy stuff so that it's not endangering lives. Yeah.
Helping to care for us as we age. That's also a very good one, considering what's happening. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and water pollution. Somebody said solving the problem with water pollution. I actually found some robots, a robot video the other day. Forgotten the name of the company that's doing it, but over in Holland, they've got a couple of robots that actually drive across the sand and pick up rubbish. And they have algorithms, so mathematical equations and cameras all set up in them so that they can actually analyze whether something is rubbish or not. So they've obviously got pre-coded intelligence, really, to look at what they've got there. And if they identify something and they don't know if it's rubbish, they actually have citizen scientists that can tell them. So they'll send a message to say, is this rubbish? Do I need to collect it? And citizen science will say yes or no. I think that's really awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Awesome. Such great ideas. And we'll capture some of these as we write an article about this event. So we'll definitely capture some of those ideas. Thank you, everybody. All right. So just want to change tack a little bit now. And I just want to talk a little bit about the bots that we've been making in Canberra. And one of the things when I'm running these workshops in person, I will hold up a bot and I will ask people to tell me what they think these bots are made of. Now, I have lots of really great guesses, and the thing is that Gary's original ones were made on Domino's, and he still makes them on Domino's.
There are. There's one.
Hey, there you go. Has that one got a name, Gary?
Yeah, so I make all sorts of different ones. This one is you can see the exclamation point maybe on it. Can you see that? This is an inspiration bot. This one is number 58,675 out of infinity. That is how many I have made. And then they are on the back of a domino. So yeah, the originals and the ones that I still make are on Domino's, but Claire, you have discovered something else, which I'm very excited to learn more about, so we can make them on something a bit better.
Yeah, well, I guess there's a focus on, the materials that we make things out of these days. And in Australia, there's a bit of a focus on plastics and plastic bags and recycling and things like that. So I thought, what could I make that looked similar? Because I love to pay homage to these little bots, and so I did some research. I got curious, what other materials could I make these out of? And in the end, I found an artist here in Canberra who does 3D printing, and he makes things out of bioplastic. And so I went to him and I said, could you make me some bots? And so he's been making these for me. And now these are made out of a bioplastic, like I said, which means that it's made out of plants. And so that means that at the end of its life, when it's done all its giving of joy, it can be composted and it doesn't have to go into landfill. So just wanted to ask people here, do you have any other reasons why normal plastic might be a little bit of a problem? Has anyone got any comments in the chat? Oh, we've got some ideas. Yeah, wood, white plaster, cardboard, great guesses. And Min has said plastic doesn't break down easily. That's exactly right.
Well, you've got someone drawing all over your
Daniel.
slide.
Oh my goodness. Daniel's drawing some stuff on my screen. I don't know how to clear
I'm not sure how that happened, but it's...
All right, I don't know how that happened.
That's funny.
That is funny. That's like art on the go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So somebody said it takes thousands of years to break down. Exactly. And so that's why it's a really good idea to think about the things around us in our life and whether they could be made differently. So I just want to quickly show you This is David, who's the 3D printer I mentioned, and he's from a business called Game Candy. And the Canberrans will recognize these things in the middle. They're our very iconic bus stops. And so he's actually 3D printed these little earrings of the Canberra bus stops, which I think is adorable. And he makes all sorts of things. So it's just fantastic to see that kind of art science crossover. And David actually was a scientist and then he became an artist. So Gary, I know that you have seen people all around the world making bots on different things, and you've obviously practiced with different materials and things. Tell us what is on the screen here.
Yeah. So you can imagine if, again, when I make bots and when I encourage people to make them, I first have them think about who in their community needs help. That's the question that I have people tackle. And by doing that, it connects robots that are helpful also to community. So when you ask that question, sometimes people will say things like, you know, my mom needs some help right now, or my best friends, or the firewoman who helps us down the street. So lots of different answers to that. But then you could make a bot on anything. And if you are interested in sustainability and thinking a bit more globally, then maybe a domino is not your best choice because of the plastic. So I've seen people make them on all sorts of different things. And this is a brief example: rocks, pieces of paper, cardboard. I've seen amazing bots painted on clothespins. So really sort of very detailed work. And the idea then is you give this to someone to be helpful. You say, here is a brave bot. It'll help you if you have to go to the hospital. And the bot just sits there and it lets your imagination help you, right? These bots, these art bots don't actually do the work, whereas real robots do. The art bots help you do the work for yourself. So it's really an imagination exercise. So those are some of the examples, Claire.
Yeah, I love that. And so now, some of you might have prepared with some things to actually make a bot. And we're going to, so I'm just mindful of time, so we're going to do a really quick bot demonstration. All right, now Gary's going to kind of talk through this, but yeah, let's have a crack. And I'm just thinking I might stop sharing my screen so that we can blow up the bot.
Yeah, that's fine, Claire. I'll just use that in the background to help direct you. How's that?
Awesome. So I'll stop sharing and okay, Maka, I might just get you to help pin my the bot watcher.
So while you're getting set up there, Claire, I'll just talk through it. So if you look at the bots that I make, someone asked a question about the dominoes, but if you look at them, they're just a bunch of shapes, right? They're just a shape, a round shape for the head, a long shape for the body, etc. So, and then I add details to it. So go ahead and spotlight the bot watcher one. And you can see what Claire's doing over there. Or maybe she's already pinned. Gotcha, she's pinned, right? Okay, great. So
yeah, she's pinned.
Oh yeah, I see it. Okay, cool. So yeah, so there's your instructions, right? So Claire, you're gonna start by taking a blank domino and just dealing with a shape for its head, right? So that could be a circle, it could be a square, a rectangle, it kind of doesn't really matter. You put that down, and then you think, all right, that's a nice sort of beginning. I'll do another color now. Maybe I'll outline it. So just any kind of a shape. So you start with a square, a circle, a rectangle, an oval. Then maybe you go back to the body now, and you think, all right, I'll do the same thing with the body. I'll make it a bit of a longer shape. A head is kind of more compact, but the body itself might be a bit of a longer shape. And Claire's going to first kind of define that with an outline, and then you can fill it in if you want. And that's kind of how you begin. Just two shapes is all you need to start your bot. And then once you've done that, you can start to add your details, right? You can put a face on it, you can make it happy, etc. But the one thing is in the middle of it, where Claire just put a circle, I like to use that as a way to identify what kind of bot it is. So if it's a love bot, I might put a heart. Or if it's a hope bot, I might put a flower. So you can decide, you can put any kind of image in the middle of your bot, right? So here's a hope bot on mine. That one has a little flower on it, kind of gives you hope. So that's your decision. Depending on the kind of bot you want to make for someone, you can decide what design. And then you can add its features. So you can put in its eyes and its mouth. add little arms to it. Take your time. There's no reason to rush it. What I say when I teach bot workshops is whatever bot is needed will emerge. So let's imagine you do something, you make a mistake. It's not really a mistake. It's what needed to happen. And you can always use your mistakes to make them useful. So yeah, so there's Claire working on it. And sometimes I like to sign after I'm done with all of these. As you can see on mine, if you look on the side, I number mine, as you saw before. And on the other side, I actually put my name. And for me, I put the BotJoy website so people can find more about them. Because I leave my bots for places for people to find. I'll leave them on the streets. We just did that today in a project I was working on. We left 100 bots on the street of Astoria, Oregon for people to find them, Joy bots. And that's how you make a bot. It is that simple. Claire's adding some more details, adding some, it looks like it's hair. Is that right, Claire? Adding hair to your bot?
Gary, there's a question from someone in the chat that says, what size is your Domino? I have some from Kmart in Australia. Are they the same size that yours?
Got you. Yeah, well, you're getting into the Domino details. My Domino is what's called a jumbo. These are not that easy to find. You don't have to have them, but I use a jumbo size Domino, which is thicker probably than a normal Domino, but a normal Domino has a little bit less thickness to it. So when I go with Dominoes, I like the jumbo ones because they feel really good in my hand. But again, the whole goal is to actually move away from these. The goal would be to actually start using more material like Claire introduced, or even go find a rock or a piece of wood or a carrot. If that's what you're eating, Faye, you can even draw one on a carrot. So find some things that won't be so plasticky.
Oh, that's nice. Lovely, Claire. I really love them.
Yeah, nice job, Claire.
That was fun. Directions. Michelle has asked about the directions. Yeah, we will share more information about that later on, I think. Just mindful of time. And let me just go back to our presentation and just see where we're at. So yeah, we'll share this presentation and the instructions later, so don't worry too much about that. So what I wanted to talk about a little bit is the stories that we have around these bots. So Gary, you have some incredible stories about how people have used these bots, and you've already shared some. But have you met any particular bot characters that you've seen a story or you've made a story about them, like maybe, you know, an animation or a book or something like that? Have you interviewed a bot? Can you tell me some more about what these
that's
bots
great.
have done?
I actually am most fascinated with the stories that emerge from the Brave bots. So it's one thing to hear from the people that have gotten a Brave bot, but I like to imagine that my Brave bot here decides that it's going to go to a local hospital. So it finds its way to get there. Kind of Brave bots, these Brave bots have really no feet, so the dominoes just sort of waddle down the street a little bit. And then it knocks on the door and it asks, is there anyone here who's feeling a little bit scared or who's feeling a little bit uncertain about being in the hospital? And then the Brave bot finds someone, and this is a real story now. It goes from imagination. The Brave bot in this story found a girl who's 13. Her name was Ava. And Ava had a blood disorder where she had to give herself her own injection with a shot, right? With a syringe, which is really scary. I mean, most people don't want to get a shot from someone else. Imagine you have to learn how to give it to yourself. So it's really, really scary for her. And this is a true story. So this Brave bot decided to help her out. So this Brave bot went into her pocket, and every time she had to give herself an injection, it would just sort of pop itself out of the pocket and say, Ava, you can do this. And the more you do it, the less scary it will be. And Ava goes on to tell the story that because of her Brave bot, she learned how to give herself this injection over and over again, where now she doesn't even think about it. But every now and then when other things get scary in her life, she pulls her Brave bot out again. And so it's really the story of a Brave bot helping in a bit of a different way. Mm-hmm. And then we've made some animations with it as well, with bots, because they're really easy to animate, because all you have to do is just stop, move, stop, take a picture. There's not very many limbs to play with. It's just an object. So that's just 2.
Wow, that's amazing. Oh, it'd be so great to chronicle all of these stories. I know you've got some great ones on your website too, but yeah, I love that. It's just so much power in something. And that was, you know, part of the reason why I started to see if Canberrans wanted to make bots here, because we are amassing a bit of a tribe. Some of you might be able to see behind me, that's just a small selection. We've got hundreds of them now. And yeah, the idea that people can create a little bit of impact with something small, but hey, we've got a tribe now, and they can go off and you know, live a life and be donated to a hospital and do some good. So let's talk a little bit more about some of the stories. And I wanted to introduce stop motion animation, because I actually played around with this as I was, well, I do a lot of playing with bots. I'm sure, Gary, you do too. You just, you know, they're great to play with. So I actually released a stop motion animation, which I will show you in a minute. Very, very basic. But this idea of stop motion animation to bring stories to life and be able to bring a character to life. So you might have seen Shaun the sheep. And I love this photo because I never realized that they were all so tiny. So the characters in Shaun the sheep are made by people, and they take heaps and heaps of photos, and then they put it all together and it looks like they're moving. So I just love that photo there. And Fantastic Mr. Fox is another example of stop motion animation. It's obviously heaps of awesome examples that you can find online. And so this is the animation that some of you might have seen as a bit of promo for these workshops through Science Week. And this was a really, there's music to this, so you might not be able to hear that, but this was a really simple approach to doing it. And I might just add that these characters, these bots, I didn't actually make them. These have been contributed by the local.
I love them. They're really cool. I've not seen this.
Yeah.
Claire, I'm curious. How long did it take you to do this?
You know,
the video. How long does it take?
Yeah, well, so some of it I think is in the thought behind, like, what am I going to do? So what's the story? Who are my characters? And so I picked the 2 and I gave them names, Bree and Bruce. And then I thought, right, how am I going to make them move and interact with each other? And then I actually just did some little speech bubbles on coloured paper with a pen. And that's all I did. I just made 4 of them. That's their little interaction. And so I had them to the side. And then I obviously cut out some of these other pieces of paper as well with the web link and the, you know, the promo image and stuff. So I had all the bits around me. And then I actually downloaded the app Stop Motion Studio, which I've shared the link to everyone who's participating here, and I will show you a brief demonstration. And I basically just took photos, had a go, saw where they were off, and you can delete them really easily, and put some music to it. And like, honestly, it took me minutes to do each one. I did a few cuts because some of them were a bit not that great, and I played with different color backgrounds and things. Yeah, super fun and super easy.
And a great activity to do parents with their children. I think I'm going to give it a go today. It's really fun.
And so this one's from Gary. You did it with some students, didn't you, Gary? It was a bit of a joint exercise.
Yeah, we did. This was a creativity project that happened a bit spontaneously on a Spanish countryside when I was invited to come teach in Spain. And this has a whole story. This was about a lonely bot who discovered some other bots, and then there's a lot of bot kissing that happens in this video. Actually,
well, it was Spain, right?
Yeah. And then it goes on an adventure out in the Spanish countryside. It ends up climbing this strange tower. I mean, this story got pretty crazy. It climbs this crazy tower, and then eventually it encounters a monster in an empty pool. So it dives into the pool. Here we go. First it does a bit of a. There you go. And that climbs down. Oops! You can see the hand popped in there, right? So this is just, here it goes, and counts the monster. Ah! And then it attacks the monster too. Oh, it got him. It got him again. They defended their bot, and that's the end of the story.
I love that. I really do. It's just so much fun, right? Yeah, I loved seeing it going across, sort of rappelling across.
Yeah, it's sort of belayed across the territory.
Yeah. So this is another example here of a stop motion animation, because the theme for National Science Week is food by design. I thought I'd play this one. I just really like how beautiful it is. It's, colourful, and just the veggies are kind of just falling apart magically to turn into a salad. Beautiful. And this one as well, which I found online, using Lego. This is another food one, obviously, being making a burger. Yeah, if you can't hear the sound, you're missing out, so we'll definitely share this.
Claire, someone asked if that video that I shared, if they can get it online. I'm not sure they can, but if I can send it to you, and you can feel free to share it, or put the link.
All right. Awesome. All right, I'm just trying to skip through here. Okay, the last one I want to show you as a stop motion animation is from Braincraft, which is an Australian company. And this one is also talking about carbohydrate. There's some fantastic imagery here.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So that one, again, we will share. So I'm going to set up now over here to show you how to do a stop motion animation, and I'm going to be using that Stop Motion Studio app that I recommended. So I'm just going to kind of throw open here to Gary and Maka I want to ask some questions of all of the people here that are attending. If you want to tell a story about a bot, what kind of story might you tell if you have to make a decision in the next 2 minutes?
Oh, that's nice. Spreading kindness. I like that. That is very nice.
That's great.
An imagination bot. Wow. That's pretty
I
cool.
like to think about if sometimes you struggle with telling a story, an easy way to think about it is you just start with, as many stories do, you start with once upon a time. And then you can say, once upon a time, there was a, let's say, take something from here. There was a bot who wanted to celebrate teachers. And every day that bot would try to get into the school, but it was too small and they wouldn't open the door. So you kind of go once upon a time, every day. And then your story takes a turn when you say, but one day it was able to sneak in. And because of that, it was able to go up to all the teachers and give them a present. So you basically create a story structure that goes once upon a time, every day, one day, and then because of that, because of that, because of that to the end. You can create any story that way. I'll put it into the chat while other people are doing it. It's pretty easy.
Thanks, Gary. Oh, I like this one, a unicorn dragon robot. What a mix. I love it. Okay, Claire, I have you. Yep, I have you on the spotlight for your iPad. So all good. Whenever you're ready. Helping against climate change. I think that's a very important one. Shape shifting. Ooh, how would you do that?
I might just turn a light on in here because it's a little bit dark. Just see if this, okay. So please excuse the reflection, but I wanted to just demonstrate how easy this really is. It's actually easier to do it from scratch than to demonstrate it. So,
okay. I'm going to put, sorry, Claire, I'm just going to put the video on a spotlight and I'm going to remove Gary. So I'm just going to put this one.
Do you want me to stop sharing my screen?
Yes. Thank you. There we go.
Okay, so I've opened the stop motion studio and I just want to click new movie. And it gives me some helpful tips here, which you can go through, or you can just hit dismiss. And basically, so I'm using a tablet, you can use a phone. The one that I did was a phone. So this is basically what I see. That's the main thing to start. All right, so I'll just put that to the side. So I've got my two characters here. And then over here, I've got my little speech bubbles and everything like that. And if I want other characters to come in, you know, I just make sure that I've got them sort of to the side so that they're ready to grab when I'm going. So all I need to do is find my bots. So we've got some issues with Zoom here. Sorry about that. We're doing this on the fly here. But basically what I would do is I think about how I'm going to set it up. So for me, I might say, well, I just want one there. So I'll take a photo. There we go. So what happens next? Maybe this guy moves here. And so then I just take another photo. And then I might start to bring in my other character like this. Take another photo. Move them in a bit more. So you can actually see that as I go, basically just setting up the characters. Now, one of the tips I have is to take loads of photos of the one scene and ideally use a tripod. Mine are really rough, so that's fine. So then we do it like that. Okay, so I might take a few. And then what you can do then is you'll see all of the shots down here. You can edit them. You can go back to the beginning and you can hit this play button here and you can actually see it. And that's it. And so then if I want to export this, I hit the back button and there's my file there. And I can play it again or I can hold it. So let's see how it's selected. And then I can hit the share button up here. And I can export it directly to a social media channel. Or I can basically just download it as a file. So we will share some more information about how to run a stop motion animation, but it is very, very simple. So we are now at the end. Oh, do we want to share some of these? Sorry, too many things happening. Do we want to just share some of the story ideas?
Yeah, there's a ton of them. They're all over the chat here.
Yeah.
So stories about growing a garden, a robot zoo. I'd love to see that story. Robot jungle. So there's so many in here. They're amazing.
Unicorn dragon. I like that one.
So yeah, the question is are people inspired to go do this after this workshop? Because I can't wait to see what shows up.
Yeah, me too. We are basically from here, we are going to give you a bunch of more resources. So you'll receive that in an email, and there'll be more information up on the website as well. So from here, I guess, you know, my invitation again, circling back to the beginning, is to be curious and think about what you can learn about robots or other things, technology, other things that you're interested in. And then the challenge is, can you tell us a story about a robot character? So Gary, can I ask you what story you would tell if you were going to tell a brand new story for, you know, National Science Week 2021?
Yes, I want to tell a story about a robot that runs around the planet as fast as possible, almost in the blink of an eye. And every time it circles the planet, it takes with it all of the pollution that it comes across. So it's almost like, think about these robot vacuum cleaners that exist for your house. This is a robot that does it for the entire planet. And every time it has an orbit in that little strip, all the pollution is gone. So it does all these crazy orbits, almost like an atom and almost like an electron around Earth. And by the time it's done, there's no more pollution. That's my story.
Yeah, awesome. I love that one. Maka, I wanted to ask, did you have a story idea as you've been looking at this? You said you were going to try an animation. Have you thought about
yeah, I think I mean I have to go back to the unicorn dragon. My daughter loves unicorns and dragons, so I think a very good we could do that, but I think it needs to have a story, so I have to think about what to do and ask her, because she's also 5-year-olds are also full of stories. So
yeah, I think definitely get her to draw it maybe, and you can help her animate it. So as we wrap up, I guess from me, I just want to summarize that I've really enjoyed talking today about aspects of STEM, robots, technology, and what we can learn when we take a step back, slow down, and look at the things around us as well. So for me, my message to all of you is to continue to be curious and follow what interests you. So during lockdown, I know that it's a really tough time for everybody. We're all out of routine and, you know, life is a little bit different. But what could you do in, you know, these next few weeks to explore some of the concepts that you're interested in? It doesn't have to be from today's workshop, but even just through National Science Week, anything else that you might have seen. So I would love to just leave that with you all. Gary, what would you like to leave our audience?
Oh, it's pretty simple. Here's my inspiration for others is think about someone in your life who could use a little bit of help right now. It could be something big, something small, and think about what kind of bot would help them. It might be a homework bot to help someone do their homework in a more easy way. It could be a joy bot because someone's feeling a little sad. And my hope is that you'll make one and make it out of anything, but hopefully not plastic. I'm going to start to think about that too. Sorry, Dom.
Yeah, awesome. If anyone wants to make me a bot to give me some more sleep, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of parents here going, yep, that'd be great.
Last thing I want to say is if you do make a bot, I would love to see them. And the best way I can see bots is when people use them, if you're so inclined, is to use the hashtag BotJoy when you post somewhere. Because I go look at those hashtags all the time. and I get to see all the bots that show up. So if you feel like posting, that hashtag, which I'll put in the chat, is great for me because I can see what you make.
Yeah, awesome. So we're going to send a few more. There's another hashtag as well. Mama. There's a few hashtags you can use, and you're also welcome to tag me or Gary as you do that too. So let's wrap up. I just want to say thank you so much, Gary, for joining us after a big week.
Great. Yeah.
In the US. So great to see you on video. So thank you for being part of National Science Week here in Australia. And thank you also to Maka and Sophie, who've been helping out questions and all the tech in the background. And of course, thank you to everybody who's been here. It's been absolutely fantastic. Maka, would you mind just trying to grab a screenshot?
I will.
So if anyone wants to join the screenshot or opt out of the screenshot, please choose now.
And if you can put your images, like your video, put up your video, that will look even better. So I'm gonna do it now.
Awesome.
Okay, are you guys ready? 1, 2, 3, smile. There we go.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So you'll all be receiving some more information by email, and I welcome you to share your stories of your bots as we go. So thank you.
There's one for Sophia. She already has one. Oh, that's cool.
Awesome. Thank you
everyone.
So much, everybody.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.